So welcome to this extra class that I thought would be really good fun for you all to get some extra tracking practice and come together again as a full group because I've been missing Shayla, Alison, and Norma when they've not been here, and I'm sure the rest of the students are as well. So I thought it'd be nice if we just all came together and see what we get from working with Valley. Now, I have just realised something. This is not like me. It's been a really busy week because I normally have this stuff all prepped up days before our class, but it's just dawned on me that I don't have Valley's picture ready to go. So let me just grab it. So the dog that we're working with is female, and she is called Valley, as in a valley, and she has been missing for 4 weeks tomorrow. So tomorrow she will have been missing. This is the picture I want us to use. She'll have been missing for 4 weeks. So that's quite some time. So I want to just check if I can share that image from here. Yes, I can. Perfect. I'll share that in a little minute. So I don't want us to use time doing character likes and dislikes. So if you were doing this for a client, you would still glean the character likes and dislikes to ensure genuine communication and connection. But for the purposes of us here, we're just going to go straight into the questions. Where she's been missing for 4 weeks. We just need to get shit done. That's my phrase of the last couple of days. We just need to get shit done here. We need to just get in, find out what we can, pull that information together. I can validate what I've got, anything else that comes through for me tonight. And I worked with Valley late last night as well. So we're just going straight into questions. So the questions that I want you to ask her, you can ask her what happened. That's always the best place to start. Now, Dawn, I know that you're not here with us live, but you were asking about tracking work. So that's a great place to start. What happened? Can you tell me, or can you show me what happened when you were last seen at your property? So the facts of the matter, and when you're dealing with tracking cases, you only want the facts. You don't want the guardian to fill in the referral form and say, well, somebody thought they saw her at the shops on Saturday in this direction. Somebody thought they might have seen her over there on the Friday. You don't want that. You want, when was the last positive confirmed sighting? So for Valley, her last confirmed sighting was around 1 p.m. on Friday, the 4th of April. Her dad was mowing the grass and she was running around. So they're on a large property where Valley has the freedom to run. She has the freedom to go, and she generally always comes back on recall. On the odd occasion where she doesn't, they will fire a gun, and the gun, she hates the gun sound. She hates gunshots. So as soon as they fire the gunshot, she's straight back on the property and in her safe place. So they fired the gun as they normally would, and she didn't return. So that's not her normal behavior. So that's the facts of the case when it came to me. So what I want for you to do is just introduce yourself and ask her if she can show you what happened. Now, yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. What that's all I want you to ask, actually. And then we're going to reconvene and we'll do the next piece together. Okay, so let me share my picture. I hope this shares okay. Can people see the picture? Yeah, oh, perfect. Okay, so Do you want me to guide you in, or do you... Oh, did that just go away? Did the picture disappear? I don't know what happened there. I've never normally showed a picture in this way. But whilst I've got you all here, do you want me to guide you in, or do you want to just do it yourselves?
That would be lovely. And
Let me
the
guide
picture
you
was
in.
actually there, so it only got away when you took it off. The picture was there.
All right, it just disappeared off my screen then.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
I'll get it
It's
back
gone
up
now.
for you.
Yeah.
I will guide you all in. So if you want to do that part yourself, just turn my volume down. So if you close your eyes, roll your shoulders back, take a nice deep breath, and just allow the body to start to relax, to follow the breath, to notice the breath, feeling your body relax more and more with every breath. And then when you're ready, I want you to take your awareness to above your head, where you are seeing, sensing, or simply trusting and believing that there's a beautiful orb of bright white light, universal energy. And I invite you to draw that light all the way down, 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 in through the top of your head, through your crown chakra, down through your body, out through the soles of your feet, down, 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 all the way down to the center of the earth, where there is a beautiful red crystal. The white light wraps around and around this red crystal, which is our Mother Earth energy. And on your next in-breath, I invite you to draw that red or brown, if your body has inflammatory issues, draw that energy all the way up, 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 through all the layers of the earth, up through the soles of your feet, up through your legs, your trunk, and out through the top of your head, where it makes its way up towards the white light but does not wrap around. It just gently starts to dissipate and merge and blend with the edges of the glow of the white light. So you now have two infinite sources of energy simultaneously traveling up and down your body. And just when you're ready, I want you to take a nice deep breath and draw both sources of energy into your heart space. So that in breath, you're drawing down the white light and you're bringing up the red or brown light. And both these energies mix in your heart space to create pink, beautiful pink, loving light. And on the out breath, I want you to imagine that pink light traveling out from your heart space direct to Valley's heart space, where you're creating that bridge of connection. And here I want you to bring in all the guides and helpers and power animals that you can think of that will support you in this work. If you're in doubt and you don't know who to call upon, call on St. Francis of Assisi. He'll be there in a heartbeat. He's already been working with me and Valley. Set your intention that all communications will be received effortlessly with 100% clarity and accuracy. And then just when you're ready, and introduce yourself to Valley and ask her what happened on that Friday afternoon when her dad was mowing the lawn. Where did she go? What did she do? If you get any other information, record it. But for the moment, we're really just focusing on what happened. And we'll dive into where she is right now on the next section. Remember to use your superpower. Do you want her to tell you? To show you? Do you want to experience it in your own body? Or maybe you just get it as a download. But remember to ask the questions in such a way that you'll receive the information in your strongest communication tool. Remember to get clear on directions. Right, left, in front, behind, or maybe you prefer north, east, south, west, but you really do want to get a clear sense of the route that she took from the house. Was it the front of the house? Did she leave from the front, the back, the side, the left side, the right side? This is where the detail really matters. Okay, so I don't want to rush you if you're not finished, but I invite you just to bring that part to a close for just now. Remember, you can always go back and revisit anything. So what I'm going to do just now is just stop the share just so that I can still see you all here, but just so I can see you a bit better. Does anybody want to share? Now, this is where we are being brave, and there's no, sorry, I don't have good words today. Um, there's no shame's not the right word. I'm going to use shame because I can't think of a better word, but I don't mean shame, but there's no shame in being wrong. The bravery here is giving it a go. That's how we learn. That's always the brave step. So who wants to be brave and go first and share what they got? Yay, well done, Sheila.
I'll try. So first, so the feeling was she shared a feeling that she was feeling curious and sniffing around, feeling of exploring. And then suddenly I started to feel frightened, or like I got a scare. And there was the impression of darting off. And the sense of it was whatever, whether front or backyard, the sense was the shape of the yard, and she would go northwest, like in that direction.
So this is where directions get really interesting. So as I said, she had a call late last night with a guardian who's in the States, and I was in the direction that I felt she'd gone in, and she's saying, "Is that is that north from here or north from there?" And so my center point is always the property. So always the property, and this is where it's really helpful. I'm not like going to maps isn't my normal thing. Like I just prefer to do the communication work. But when it becomes complex or tricky, then I'll use maps if I can. I don't always manage to get on very well with Google Maps, but I did manage to find a satellite map of the area, and you can have your phone reconfigure it to north, so you can set it for north. So when I was giving the feedback to the Guardian last night, I was able to say, it's the directions from your property set at north, and I'm seeing her on this side of the property or that side of the property. So it's really interesting because what happens is when we do this work, it can feel really, really clear. And it's like, I've got it. She's there, and I can see a tree and I can see whatever, and it's super, super clear. But when you take that and put that into the context of where the guardian's looking, it's not always so clear. So this is why we really need to nail the lefts, the rights. What did she pass? What was on this side? Was it north? Was it south? Was it north? Was it east? Was it northeast? Really, really kind of drilling that down. So you felt that she moved in a northwesterly direction.
The feeling was
Now I'm being tough on you. Is that the route that she left the property on, or is that the route that she is now on?
if you were standing from the house looking at the person vacuuming, mowing, she would have been exploring straight out, and then the fright feeling was that she went like that. So to the upper right, if you were looking down the property of
Right,
where
so
whoever
that's really interesting, Sheila. So when you talk about upper right, that matches exactly my description of from where she was in the property, she went left. Now, do you see already? Sheila's saying right and I'm saying left, but they are the same direction because your position on the property is slightly different from what my starting position. So what you're seeing as your right, I've got my back to the property, so that's my left. So do you
I'm
see
sorry,
how
am I saying right this whole time? So when I'm doing this, that's my left. I don't know why I'm saying that.
Okay, you did say right, but that's okay.
Okay.
So is your back to the property or are you looking at the property?
Back is to the home and
Right,
wherever
so that's
someone's
left. So that was
mowing.
the same as me. Yeah, so I got
Yeah,
left, my back
sorry.
to the property. So that's all right. But this is why this is really important. This is why this is really important. And then you speak to the client, and the client says, "Well, actually, that is the back of the property, but we actually use the front of the property." And so you've got all these variables. So well done. So she left. So she went. She was in a curious space, sniffing, got a scare, darted off, and it was on that left angle. Okay, Christina, you're nodding. So can you just open your line next? It looks like you're in agreement with that.
I'm in agreement with that. In my picture, there is a tiny little hill and a little bit of a stream that she passes. I see her following like a critter, a lizard, something, snake, and she's going towards a group of trees. But on the left-hand side. So Dad is mowing with the property at the back, Dad
Mhm.
is mowing to the right. She
Mhm.
is at the left and she's going left, and there is I see a group of trees. And she goes into those trees, and there is scary sounds in there.
Okay.
Do you want me to continue?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. It sounds like a predator. Whether it's coyote or the dog, I don't know. But there's a threat. She feels threatened, and she feels chased. And then it's like there's a blank, because it's like she just panics and she just runs for a long amount of time. She's yelping. There's a barn. There's an angry man, and he has got I don't know what that tool is called, but it's like uh it looks like what Triton has, but it's for hay.
Oh yeah, a rake.
A rake. But
Rake.
it's
Yeah.
only it's got like three. It's you're
Yeah.
shoveling hay with that.
Yeah.
And he is angry, and she's asking, "Where am I?" And she is in flight mode, she's in survival mode, and then I didn't get any further.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else?
I actually got something similar. So what I got was that Valley was kind of the same thing, sniffing. She stumbled upon like a small animal that she started chasing. And if my back is in the house, she's also in front of the house, was chasing left. And then something, frightened her, scared her, and that came from the left side. And she took off to the right. So that would be kind of the same thing, northwest direction. And then she was also running for a very long time. And I also got an older man. So I kind of got the sense that this older man took her in, but I definitely also got this, man feeling. And that's all I got to.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, just open your mic, Adele.
I got it's in the front garden, the same, but mowing the lawn. My back is to the door, and she went east. So that would be on the right hand side. She went down there. She got a smell of a deer, and she just went. Now I asked about seeing. She didn't really look. She was too busy sniffing. And I got like a stream, and I called it more of a ford, but because it's been quite dry, it was very shallow. She was able to
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit there. So this the
now,
you
first
broke
of
up a little.
all, I got on. She's stuck. Yeah, I got yeah, I got that she's stuck and trapped. And then my logical brain came, what, for 4 weeks? She'll be dead. How's she feeling and stuff? And then right, what happened? Then the other, like, she went through the stream, and then she was on a road, a car stopped, a blue car, two old people were in there, very nice people. The old lady picked her up, put her in the back of the car. She then she didn't recognize the area. There was a bungalow, and she's there, and I'm well, have they used one of those so they'll find out where you are? No, the lady's got quite attached to me.
Okay.
So that's
Now you
'cause-
broke up a little bit. Did you say she'd crossed over the ford, the stream?
Yeah. She was able to go across there.
And I want to take you back to when you felt she was stuck. So this is me shining the spotlight of love on you.
Yeah.
When you felt that she was stuck, is that a real stuck? Is she stuck because of something physical that she can't get beyond or move beyond, or is she stuck because of fear or emotion? Is it a symbolic stuck or a real stuck? These are really important questions. These are the things you always want to be checking in on.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't know whether I was getting confused with a past one or this one. I got stuck in like a drain, and like an underground drain, and she was able to get through the because you have the bars, but she wasn't able to get back. Now I then questioned myself, now is that right, Adele? Because you had one like that before, and this is when my logical brain came in.
And it happens.
Yeah,
It happens.
And then I thought, well, 4 weeks, you'll be dead by now. So are you alive or are you dead? And I thought, is that you? What, what's going on? And then this one of being picked up, and with this older couple in a bungalow. They're retired, and the lady's got quite attached to her, and quite happy to keep her. That's why they haven't really bothered with getting her checked, microchipped, to see where she's really, because she was all wet in a bad state and stuff, and they took her in. And
so that's really helpful. You've got photos on the car as well. Thank you. And don't worry about whether you're getting something from, I'm saying don't worry. Know that it's normal. It happens to me as well, especially if you've had a scenario where something's very similar in the tracking experience. Your memory can latch on to where you've already been in a similar situation. So know that that's normal. The important thing is that you recognize it. And then when you feed it back to the client, you can always say, does this geography resonate? If it doesn't, please don't worry, I did a similar tracking case that had similar territory. And I don't know if my mind's just locked on, and you just explain it. You just always be honest about it. So that's why that happens, Adele. Right. Thank you. Robin, last but by no means least, are you happy to share? You're going to be brave? Yeah, good stuff.
So I just want to clarify okay, you can hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay. Was when people are talking about the direction, are they starting from the front of the house? In front of the house or behind? Because for me, it was behind anyway.
Yeah, so behind.
So if my back was to the house, looking over the property, away from the back of the house, whatever direction that is, straight out, that's the direction that I had. And so picked up a scent and was just following the scent very closely, just kept going, went into the woods, went about it looked like about halfway through the woods before being startled. And then I went back just to double check because I didn't want to get too far ahead. Like so
Mhm.
I went back and did some checking, and then I have her coming out of the woods onto someone's property, onto the next person's property. And then I had trouble getting any further. So,
Right. Okay. Thank you. So let me pull all of that together. So for those of you that said woods, she went to the trees. She went through the woods, came out the other side of the woods. She was at a tree. So for all of you that got that, let me just update you that she's in 500 acres of woodland. Yeah, yeah. So do you see how for each and every one of us, myself included, and Rachel, who's a tracker on my team, she's been working on this as well. So Rachel and I have been working together on this for the past week. And we got trees too. And it was only when I went back to the Guardian and she said we're in 500 acres of trees. So when you realize that, the clarity that we have in our communication work is like a pin dropping in 500 acres of trees for the Guardian who's trying to find her. So I think it's really important, and I said that to the Guardian last night in our phone call, just to manage expectations, that we can find things that we can experience things very clearly in our work, but when we transpose that into your geographical area where you're trying to find her, we have complete understanding and awareness that that's not always so easy. So we just need to take it bit by bit, and it all worked out. It all worked out fine. So she's in a huge area of timberland where trees are logged, because that came up, I think, on the second consultation, where we were getting a sense that trees were being felled, trees were being logged. So when I checked in and said, is there logging going on? So there is logging going on. So we're just building up this kind of picture. So coming back,
I should add to that I did ask, because I couldn't get any further. I was trying to think other questions, and I asked her if she hadn't thought to follow that scent back. I didn't even know if this was something that would, and she just said no, she was too freaked out.
Too lost, too far away. So when I looked on the satellite image, it's quite weird because whilst it's a massive area, the trees, and remember it's satellite, which means you're seeing it from a different perspective. And I remember when I used to do hill walking, I'd be with friends, we were like, right, we'll go down this hill and we'll go up that way and we'll turn in on the fifth row of trees. But when you're down on the ground, you don't feel it like a fifth entry point because it's just all trees, but from up above you can see that it's clearly lined out. So from the satellite, the trees are clearly lined out, they're in lines, they're in rows. So it's quite interesting. But going back to the directions, so this was my these were how I did my directions. I work with lefts and rights. Rachel works with north, south, east, and west. So back of the property behind Valley, she went straight out the back of the property and then got a scare and went off on a slight left, on a left angle. When I got the satellite image and positioned it to north, that equated with east. So somebody said east. Adele, you said east. So it doesn't actually matter. What is important here is that you know and you understand how you are working out your directions. So when I spoke to the client last night, and Rachel was there as well, we both spoke to her, and And she's saying things like, so is that north at this point? Or, and I'm like, no, that's the property is north. Like the north's positioned at the property. So at the back, straight out, that would be on the east. So it's doesn't matter how you do it, you just need to be clear and be able to explain it to your client. That's the most important thing. Now, I swithered about letting you know this next piece, and I decided not to, just to see what came up. So I'm not testing you. It's not the way that I work. But I think it was Adele, you said the smell of deer. So there were elk on the property, and she was with the elk, what she does normally. So she's interacted with the elk quite comfortably for the last 5 years. And so that's normal for her to move in and around the elk. For all of you that said that she caught a scent, followed the scent, went into the trees with the scent, that's exactly what I got as well. For those of you that sense that she got a scare, I got that as well. Rachel didn't. Rachel felt that the scent was the piece that drew her away. I believe that she's got a fright. I believe she's got a fright with the elk. She's comfortable with the elk, but she's wary. Now, somebody said something about somebody said, anyway, I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was Sheila. Got a scare, sniffing, got a scare, darted off. And Christine, I think you said you felt threatened, you could hear sounds. So I believe she's been amongst the elk. What I'm seeing is she's been with the elk and she's felt a bit wary. So for those of you that got fear coming in, she was quite okay. Then this fear came in and she was then becoming wary of the elk. And I felt that something had happened, that she's either been, I do not believe she's injured, but she's been shooed off or kicked off or, you know, something. Rachel at that point felt that there was hormones. So I said to the client, are there any hormonal changes with you? She said, no, I'm 62, I'm past all of that. So this is where you need to get creative, because I thought, right, hormones, what else could that be? So I checked out what is the breeding season for elks. Elks are in their breeding season right now. So the elks would be hormonal. So that also fits the picture. And that would also explain why the elk may have shooed her off, threatened her, and why she needed to be more wary. And the Guardian confirmed last night that the elk are very protective of their young, and she has been struck by the elk before. So all of that makes sense. Then we've got from there, she caught a scent, and that curious, intoxicated, like, oh, I'm in this new smell. What is this? The Guardian was in agreement that she that sounded like her, that resonated strongly for the Guardian. And I believe that she has now followed that scent and ventured beyond her normal play area. So she's now outside of her normal familiar territory, and she can't find her way back home. So that's the kind of what we believe's happened. For those of you that said that there was a hill, there absolutely is a hill, because their property is in a valley. So she has to go up to get out. So for those of you that felt that there was a hill, then absolutely there is a hill that she needs to climb a hill. Now, Adele, you said about being stuck. When Rachel and I were sharing this with the Guardian, we both saw rocks, stones, like large boulders. And there is a place out the back of the property on that slight left angle. If she was to follow that route, according to the Guardian last night, if she followed that route, went up that hill, she would have come up against it's not a ridge, but it's rock, and she would not be able to get past it. So that's why I was pushing on you, Adele. You know, is it a physical block? Is it a mental block? Is it a symbolic block? And when we came up, when Rachel and I both came up against that, Rachel felt that very much that there might be something symbolic about that, that it might not necessarily have been an actual rock that she couldn't get by, but there is physical rock that she can't get past. So she's needed to now change route, and she has changed route, and she's continued to move. And we now think she's on the northwest side. She's on a northwest route. So this is why I was asking earlier, because we believe she started off on east and she's now on northwest. So long story short, the crux of what we need to do is give her instructions. This is where we are at now. Now, somebody, Adele, I think you said she crossed the road, she crossed the stream. So when I asked the Guardian if, because both Rachel and I at different times got a clear description of her shelter, and our descriptions matched. So I checked in with the Guardian and asked if there were areas of rock, either natural rock. I was feeling natural rock, and Rachel was sensing that it was man-made. It's a man-made structure, but I felt it was natural rock. So here we've got two of us. We've both got rock, but we've got different origins of the rock. So when we checked with the Guardian, apparently there are 3 quarries in the area. Just to make it easy, there are 3 quarries in the area. So now that's all natural rock, but man has come and created different shapes with the natural rock. So here you can see that both the natural rock and the man-made structure are actually both correct in that situation. So Adele, you thought that she was stuck in a drain. Now, what interests me about your feedback is that you described it as it's like a drain, it's underground, and both Rachel and I believe that she is underground, her shelter is underground with a rock. So it's like she goes under the rock and then she goes down into the ground. So she's protected, they can't see her. It feels to me like a den, like a burrow, like a fox's den. So that's what Rachel and I both got just about identical descriptions of her shelter. And Rachel felt that there was this man-made, kind of structure or formation around there, and I felt it was natural rock that was around there, but a quarry, that's both, isn't it? You're just depending on your perspective. So Adele, what you've described, that drain, now there will be drainage things there as well, I'm sure, but I think what you've picked up there is the shelter. And the reason that she hasn't died in there in the last 4 weeks is because she's not physically stuck and trapped in there, but she's emotionally, mentally stuck and trapped because she doesn't know how to get home. I think that's what you were picking up there, Adele.
Yeah.
Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense.
I've just now gone all goose pimply. Yeah, that's it. Because then my logical brain said, no, that can't be it. And that, I got learned by that, just go with it, because, I thought stuck, she'll be dead or won't be able to talk. Yeah. But
So
yes.
This is where the stuck, we really want to always check in on that. And I only learned about this because of a little kitten that I worked with, and she said, I'm stuck, I'm trapped, I can't move, I can't get out. But everything in my body was saying she's not stuck. And it's like, oh, it's her fear. Her fear was like keeping her stuck. So I think that's what you've picked up there, Adele. And there are the 3 quarries around, and Rachel saw some of the logs being put into water. So I asked the Guardian if there was water sources, and she said yes, there's lots of like creeks and water sources. So for those of you that saw that, well done. A couple of you said onto somebody else's property. From the description that I gave the client last night, and where I was able to describe what I could see. I didn't see a person's property, I didn't see a person per se, but the route that she took, the guardian said that she would now be on somebody else's property. They have a large property, but she would now, by the route that I described, she would now be on somebody else's property. So for those of you that got that she was on somebody else's property, you are you were spot on there. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. Oh yes, sorry, I did see your hand up. My apologies, Christina.
That's all right. A couple of things. So, what is the distances of those 3 quarries? Are they in proximity of each other, or are they far away from each other? Are
No
they
idea.
3? No idea. Okay.
No idea.
All right. So I saw her being chased off a property. So it or chased by someone, you know. So there was a man who was like, "Go away, now, get away!" Someone who's, you know, but it could have been someone at the quarry or something. If I mean, if it's an active quarry and somebody is actually working there.
The property that following the route that I gave them, the guardian said she would now be on somebody else's property, but they know her and wouldn't be surprised to see her run about there because she's got a lot of space to run in.
All right, but would there be workers there? I was thinking maybe there's a man.
Yeah,
that
there would be
doesn't like
workers at the
dogs.
quarry and at the felling, where they're felling the trees, where they're logging the trees.
Oh,
There'll
yeah.
be workers there as well. And there's
Yeah.
active tree logging going on right now.
Okay, so
Now,
it
what
could
we
be
need
not.
to be aware of too, and I'm not saying that what you've got's wrong, I'm not saying that at all, because there's a high likelihood that she may have come across people, but we need to bear in mind as well that just to make this really easy, they're on the edge of a national park. So we are talking about a lot of land, a lot of predators, a lot. So the man might be a predator. So I'm just putting it out there because we don't know. And we don't always know why animals give information to us in specific ways. And I remember many years ago, very, very early on, saying to my client, well, she loves the beach walks with your friend and her 3 children. And she said, none of my friends have children. She said, we're all in same-sex relationships. None of us have children. I was like, holy moly. And then she rang me back and she said, oh, it's my friend that's got 3 puppies. So I saw them as children. And I resonate with children. As a mother, I resonate with children and I know what children are. I also know what 3 puppies are. But maybe she wanted to show me it in that way so that I knew that they were young rather than 3 dogs. I don't know. But these are just the weird things about animal communication. But when we're doing tracking work, we just always want to keep an open mind that the man could represent any angry threat to Valley.
Could be. Okay. Oh, one more thing. And maybe I'm jumping to conclusions here. I'm just thinking, here in Denmark, we have an organization called We Find Dog, and they use drones.
Yeah.
And obviously if she's hiding under some stone quarry, I mean, she won't be found. But I mean, if we do find direction or you know, kind of an area, and maybe drones could be a possibility too.
I suggested that to her last night because the area is too vast for cameras. It's just too vast. The treat trail is not an option. We don't know who's going to be picking up those treats. And doing like a barbecue with really smelly, nice food on it, it's potentially dangerous because we could be attracting all sorts of other predators. So my guidance to the client last night was to scent mark. You'll get up in the morning, pee in a bottle, go and spray it all around the boundary area and beyond so that we can, if she can pick that scent up, that'll bring her back towards the boundary and then she'll know the familiar territory. Okay, just conscious of time, and I've still got a couple of questions that I want you to ask her. Sheila, did you have a question? You had your hand raised as well.
I just wanted to really quickly also kind of say that what you're explaining validated this part that I'm getting about learning how to just say it as it is which I learned so heavily in the conclusion of the first tracking case I did. But I saw the bushes and the trees as well, and I had a feeling of hunkering down, and the feeling was between rock and a hard place. And I would have assumed
yeah,
that that was under a tree.
yeah,
I wrote it, just practice writing it down like that. So
yeah.
I just wanted to share that.
And this is where you always, it's like what I was saying at the masterclass last night, we don't want to make facts, we state facts. And this fact is, I heard the expression between a hard rock and a place, and that is a rock and a hard place. And that's exactly where she is. She's between a rock and a hard place. That's exactly where she is. So well done there. Now, what the Guardian has said is for Vali to be where both Rachel and I are seeing her, so the geographical markers that Rachel and I are both seeing in our separate work, for Vali to be there, she has either crossed over the highway or crossed over water. Now, there are different water sources. So what we need to try and establish is, has she crossed over the highway? Has she crossed over water? That's what we need to know. Now, the highway, I asked if it was busy. Busy's relative. What does busy mean? So she said it can be a busy road, but it has lots of log trucks, lots of logging trucks. So when you ask her, did she cross the highway? You're going to show her the logging trucks on the highway, maybe chucking some cars as well. Ask her if she crossed over there. And then you want to ask her if she, so even if you get a yes, still ask her if she crossed over water. And yeah, that's what we're doing now. Okay, so just go straight back in. We don't need to reground. Just, I'll put the picture back up, but you're asking her those two questions. Don't dilly-dally. We're just going straight in. Take your first response. Just going to ask you to come out of that just now. And I'm just going to do a show of hands for this one rather than going round everybody. So give me a raise of your hand if you believe that she has crossed. So raise your hand if you believe that she's crossed over the highway. So that's nobody. I know Christina's not back, so we can check with Christina. And give me a raise of your hand if you believe that she's crossed over the river. Okay. Did anybody, well, I don't know about Christina, but did anybody get no for both of them? Was that something that came up for either or for anybody? No. Okay. Right. So what we need to do now is, because I had said to the Guardian, so if she's crossed the river, I don't want to tell her to follow the river. Christina, could you give me a raise of your hand if you got she crossed the highway? Did you get that she crossed the highway? Raise your hand. Did you get that she crossed the river? Raise your hand. Yeah, okay. So I'd said to the Guardian last night, because I didn't think she crossed the highway either. So I asked the Guardian last night, there's no point in me, I said, I'm concerned to tell her to follow the river, because if she follows it in the wrong direction, she's going to be further away from home. This is where it gets interesting. The Guardian said no. If it's Indian Creek she's crossed, now there are other water sources. We cannot expect Valley to know which water source is Indian Creek. We can't expect her to know that. If it is Indian Creek that she's crossed, then it doesn't matter what direction she follows it, it will bring her back onto familiar property. So it must just be the way the water winds around that area, it will bring her back to familiar property. So when we go back in, this is our final time with Valley, we are going to say to her, if it's Indian Creek, and we know that you might not know that it's Indian Creek, and this is where you could work with dowsing, just to get more clarity if that is the water source that she's crossed. My gut feeling, I haven't checked it out with dowsing, but my gut feeling is that it is the Indian Creek. So I've said to her, if it's Indian Creek, follow it. Doesn't matter what direction, just follow that water and you will come back to familiar property. So that's our first instruction for Valley. The second instruction is the elk, because the Guardian said last night that the elk, because we were wondering what direction the elk were moving in, because I thought it might be good if they could go by car or get ahead or catch up with the elk trail so that they could find Valley, because I think she's followed the elk. She doesn't usually follow the elk, but she has been with the elk at some point. So I wondered if she could be on the elk trail. Then the Guardian said, well, there's actually about 3 or 4 different herds of elk, and the trail that they take, they all come back by the property. So, there's a well marked out trail that these different herds do, but each herd at some point circles back through the property. So I said to the Guardian, well, if she follows the elk, then will she come back to the property? If she's following the elk, then surely that means she's going to come back to the property. And the Guardian said yes. So that's our second instruction. Now, what I said to her last night was, if you see a herd of elk, follow them. They will lead you home. If you don't feel safe to be in with the elk, just stay behind. Just follow from a distance. Do whatever feels right and safe. So that's the second instruction. If you see elk, a herd of elk, follow them. They will bring you back to the property. Third instruction, I've given the Guardian the shine the light of love. So she's to look up in the sky every night and see the love, that pink flash of light above her property. She sees that light, she heads to that light, that's her property. And I think that was the last instruction. Follow the herd. Oh yeah, and I just told her that her family were going to put some scent markers out. So if she could catch their scent, to follow that, and that will take her home. Now, this is what's really interesting here. And I just want to give a little recap. And Dawn, if you're listening on the replay, this will be really helpful for you. When an animal's been missing this long, they start to become less and less domestic. So I had wondered about, because I asked her if she could hear the gun when they fired the gun when she first went missing, and she could. So we know that she's in gun sounding distance, but she was lost and didn't know the direction. So I'd wondered about whether it was worth firing the gun again to see if she's still in that sound distance. But I decided against it last night based on, so this is just education for you, based on the fact she's been missing 4 weeks now. We know she does not like the sound of the gun, and she'll need a safe place. So she needs a safe place. She's going to that drain, that den, that place under the rock, and she might just go to ground. And that's a risk because she might not come out. She might just be so scared that she goes to ground, and we've lost that opportunity to bring her back. So remember this when animals have been missing for a while, because the guardian said, so should I go out and call her? And I just shook my head and I said to Rachel, what are your thoughts on that? And Rachel said, no, so we were both in complete agreement. It's too long. She's going to go out and shout, Valley, come on, Valley. Valley's like, whoa, hide, threat, territory, because when animals have been missing that long, they will recognize the guardian's scent before their voice and before their physical appearance. So that's why the scent markers are going to be key for the family to lay out for her. So just giving you that extra piece there in case you come across something like this and the guardian says, oh, I'll go out and I'll start calling. It's like, don't. You actually might push them further and further away. And certainly for Valley, because of where she is, she potentially could be moving further and further into the national park, which then puts her at additional risk of the bears, the coyotes, and snakes, and everything else that are all there. So this communication is, Valley, can you please find a herd, follow them, they will take you home. The Indian Creek, if that's the creek you've crossed, I mean, she might not know it. If that's creek you've crossed, follow it in any direction. It will take you back to familiar territory that you will recognise. 3, look up into the sky when it's dark. Your mum's going to shoot a beam of light. Look for that light. That is at your property and will guide you home. And 4, just let her know that there will be scents of her mum, possibly her dad, and possibly her own bedding that will be laid on the outskirts of the boundary that will help bring her back to the boundary line. So that's what I want you to communicate with her just now. Christina, you've got your hand up.
Well, it's a crazy thought and has nothing to do with communication, but it's I'm thinking, I mean, one thing is the light of love, but I was thinking flares, but I don't know if she's afraid of fireworks or something, but it's just for her to see direction.
Yeah. So I would be worried for the flare. If she's
Yeah.
scared of the sound of the gunshot, you're
Yeah.
still going to get that whoosh
Yeah,
and
right.
kind of explosion.
It was-
So
yeah,
the light of love technique is an energetic
yeah.
visual way to provide that same light source as a directional home. Shayla's made an interesting point here in a message to me. If there is a predator following the elk herd, one that may have scared Valley in the first place, following the herd may be a risk of her scattering and being lost again. What could we tell her about this? So just what I said earlier, she needs to do what feels safest for her. Yeah, that's all. I think it's all we can do. This is just she has to make the call. We know that if she follows the herd, she will be able to come home. But I just put that caveat in with her last night. You know, if you don't want to be in the herd, you want to stay back from the herd. Yeah, and I think, I mean, I don't know enough about wild animal behavior, but I think when she was following the herd earlier, that was very much a survival strategy from Valley. I felt that was a very deliberate, intentional action on her part to be with the herd so she wasn't alone and isolated and therefore at greater risk of predators. So that was my feeling when she was following the herd initially. So we just need to let her make that judgment call. That's all we can do. So let's just take a couple of minutes to give her that clear instruction. So I'll get the picture up, just go straight in. 3 things for her to do, to follow, and to let her know that there will be scent around of her mum, most probably her dad too, and of her own bedding. So to be aware of that. Okay, if we just draw that piece to a close. So just a couple of other pieces just to pick up from the feedback that you got. So Christina, you saw a man, an angry man, and Adele, you wondered if she had been picked up. Now, I got that same feeling, I think it was on the second consultation, excuse me, that she had maybe been picked up. I don't believe that now, but this is where that monkey mind and all that it plays. Like, there's no point me sitting here and saying that I never get that, because I do. And I wish and would desire for none of you to have that, but I know that I get it sometimes. So I had that kind of, had she been picked up? And it wasn't anything that she told me, it was just a sense that I had. So the other thing that I want to share with you, which I thought was quite interesting, and an example of, probably would have been a good example to use last night if I had remembered, and an example of where you think you've got it wrong. So Adele, you were already questioning, is this your logical mind kicking in? And she would be dead by now. Like, this doesn't make sense. So I had that on the very first consultation that I did with her. So she showed me the exact same route that I've already described to you. She was down in amongst the elk, got scared off. I saw her being kicked by an elk. I saw her falling to her injury. And then I got the word coyote, and I saw her being carried off by a coyote. So I'm like, oh, well, that was easy. In and out, dead, gone. Okay, is that what's happened here? I didn't know if she was in a coyote area. I don't know anything about the area that she's in. So I went online and I just put in the address or the town, or whatever it was, and just put coyote area, and a whole list of things came up, nothing to do with coyotes being present or where coyotes were in that area, but all pertaining to a restaurant called the Coyote Restaurant. And I was like, oh, what's this? So Coyote Restaurant. And then I found the address of the restaurant and the client's address, and they were 10 miles away. Now, a dog who's scared can travel 10 miles. And certainly a dog, now at this time, I didn't know how fit and how much running this dog did. But even a not particularly super fit dog in fear can cover 10 miles. And then I had that notion, I wonder if she's been picked up. So I didn't share that with the guardian because I wasn't sure that I was fully connected. Remember, my cousin had just died. I was just back to work. Rachel wasn't here, so she wasn't able to take the case on. And when I saw how long the dog had been missing, I thought, right, I'll give it a go, just to see if we could, if I could help. So that was my first communication. And I just thought, I'm wondering if I'm just off. And so I waited and I communicated with her the next day, got the same information about where she'd gone. She got a fright, she got shooed off, and then I got the additional pieces and felt very much that she was alive. Now, remember that when animals are missing, they're often exhausted, because they are tired from the movement, but they're also not getting the same sustenance that they normally would from good food and water. Now, we know that she has access to water, but she's got very limited access to food. So, and if they're injured, they will rest more. So you can inadvertently be communicating with them on the dream time. And then you can tap into their memories. So I didn't share any of that with the client. I shared it with Rachel, and I said, you know, I'm just going to put that aside. It feels off, and I wasn't in the best place, and I'm not feeling that she's dead anymore. But could you imagine if I'd said to the client, I'm 100% certain, which I would never say anyway, but you know, could you imagine if I said to the client, oh, she's dead, and then 3 days later, I'm now on my third consultation with her, I'm thinking, oh, she's definitely alive. But I did say to the guardian last night, so this is where being brave really can help. And I said to the client, there's something that I would like to ask you. It comes with a bit of a sensitivity warning, and I don't want your head to go to the worst case scenario. I'm only asking it from a place of curiosity, not a place of expecting that anything bad has happened. Are there coyotes in your area? And she said yes. And that's when she said that they were on the edge of a national park. And she said, yes, there are. And I said, it's because I saw her being, I didn't say kicked. In my image, I saw her kicked. But I just said to the guardian, I saw her be shooed off quite aggressively by elk. And she said, oh, she's had a couple of hard kicks from the elk. So she's now the client's validated the information that I was getting, that I've assumed was all wrong. She's validated that information, that she has received a kick a couple of times from the elk. And I said to the client I looked up coyote, and there's a coyote restaurant. I said, but I don't think she's been picked up. I said, but it has come into my thinking. So I'm just putting it on the table. If it resonates for you, run with it. If it doesn't, leave it. I would rather you made that decision than I chose to withhold the information from you. I said, if it were me, I would be inclined to phone the coyote restaurant and just say, I've got a missing dog, matches this description, and somebody thought they saw her in and around your area. Have you seen anything? I said, that's how I would handle it, rather than saying, oh, an animal communicator said. And she said to me something very interesting, which also could tie in with what you said, Christina. And she said, well, actually, if that restaurant, she said, we hardly ever go into town. She says, we are kind of in the middle of nowhere. She said, but that restaurant, the people that own the restaurant could actually live here. So they could have a neighbouring property, and it might be that she's on their property. So there's another connection just by hearing the word coyote. So interesting. Then she said, I kid you not, she then said, but it's interesting that you said about the coyote, because I felt that she was, anyway, she said, it's interesting what you said about the coyote, because she plays with the coyote. She interacts with the coyote, and the coyote one coyote actually picked her up by her face. She has injury scars on her face. A coyote picked her up by her face and carried her off. And I'm thinking, all of that matches what she gave me in that very first consultation. But what I now know, the guardians validated all of that. Every scene that I saw has happened to her. And I think where she was sharing that fear, and a couple of you felt that as well, that she's going along and then the fear's coming in, I think it's because she is aware that the coyote can kill her. She's aware that the coyote are a risk to her and her survival. And she's been carried off by the coyote before. So she's very well aware. So I'm just sharing all of that with you because it was really interesting, and the guardian was great, because I just said to her, look, I just put it down to, being off. And she said, no, everything you've described has actually happened to her, and she's got the scars on her face. So that lets me know that the information wasn't wrong. Even though I thought she was dead, the dead piece was her sharing with me, this has happened to me and could have killed me.
Oh,
So are you seeing how all of this information, while it feels like it's all wrong, it's actually spot on, but you need a good guardian that's open to just hearing what needs to be heard. Because like in the masterclass last night, you could just think, oh, I got that wrong because she's clearly alive and I thought she was dead and I would have told them that she was dead. So could you imagine a brand new animal communicator without my training, where we don't really encourage you to say that they're dead or alive because you never know until you know. They would just say, oh, she's dead. And it wasn't true at all, but the information was not wrong. So this is where you can pick up their memories. You can be communicating with them in the dream time and you don't always know it. And I was chatting to Diana today. We were talking about the dream time. So Diana and I had a call and I was saying to Diana, as I've been doing this work a long time, and unless there's that desire energy, I would never know if it was in the dream time or not, because it all is in the real time when you're in the communication space, because there is no time and space in communication land, is there? There's no time and space. You're just in the communication. And Diana had said the same. She said, no, she says, you wouldn't know. So I'm sharing that with you as a really honest, what I can't think of the word, I'm so sorry. Will you tell a story, an honest share of what my experience was, that looked like one thing, but actually it looked like one thing in terms of I thought she was dead on that first consultation. And I said to Rachel, I think she's dead. And Rachel said, oh, I think she's alive. I was like, oh, holy moly, I've come back to work too soon. I'm not in the right headspace for this. Now knowing that actually everything there was correct. So just be aware that you can be connecting in on the dream time, and that some of these images that you get might not be real time there, but they are being shared for a reason. And I believe that reason is because she understands that she could be killed out there. So yeah, she just goes at it with the coyote as well. They had to wrestle her off the coyote. Like, and I said to the women, I said, we don't normally ever, people ask, is my friend still alive or are they dead? I said, we don't usually say either way, because you can't ever know until you find a body. But I don't know if Rachel's in any disagreement with me, but I feel that your girl is just really smart. Like, you talk about have street smarts, she's got wilderness smarts. She has wilderness smarts, and she's in a mindset that I would not expect an animal that's been missing for 4 weeks to have. And she said, oh, she's hardy, she's tomboy. So that is absolutely on her side. And I think she's been clever. She's traveled with the elk for safety. I believe that she's eating the elk's droppings. So that's where she's getting her food sources from. So yeah, she's a smart wee cookie. But it's been it's been a time for her family, who can't find her. So well done, everyone. You all did really, really well. I'm really proud of you. You really did. So for those of you that want to or need to submit a tracking case for your professional practitioner program, you've done it here and it's a pass. So all of you got accurate information that matches what either I've got, Rachel's got, and more importantly, what the Guardian has already validated. So yeah, well done. And yeah, how did you feel doing that? How did that feel? Do you want to just share? You don't all need to, but yeah, carry on.
I thought that I had, I didn't write it down and I pushed it away because I saw her eating droppings as well. And I thought, no, that's gross. Why am I thinking that?
Not when you're starving, it's not.
Well, no, I know. But, I just thought to myself, I'm just thinking that because I was thinking, okay, the 4 weeks, what are you going to do? But this was on during the last connection because we had more information. And so then I was picturing her where she was and you know, picturing the river and so on for instructions. And then I saw her, yeah, I saw her eating some droppings and I thought, yeah.
Yeah, so you got that right. Well done. Well
Mm.
done. Well done.
I didn't know whose droppings. I just saw.
Yeah.
I just
I
saw the stuff on the ground.
yeah, I saw initially I saw really small droppings. I thought they were berries at first. So, and again, this is where we state fact, we don't make fact. So rather than
Mhm.
saying, oh, she's eating berries, I would,
Mhm.
I said I saw her eating something small that looked like the shape of berries, but it could also be droppings.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then that way you're not saying what it is, because they might say, well, there's no berries around this area at all. So you've not made it into something. Okay, Christina, you've got your hand up.
I saw berries too, so that could be, but I mean, yeah, it could be tiny little droppings. I don't know. So that's for sure. I found the assignment daunting, because there's so much at stake. And I just, yeah, I felt really afraid of getting it wrong, but I really tried to take your advice, as in, I mean, there's nothing to lose. I mean, maybe one right word is something that can make a difference.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I went into it wholeheartedly, but it was definitely a very daunting experience, I would say. And yeah,
And I think
I don't think that I'm gonna let her go just yet. I think I took a picture of her picture, and I'm going to sit with her a little bit tonight and see if anything else comes up. And I will definitely let you know. And if there's any changes, will you please let
will
us
do.
know?
If you would be so kind as to put that picture into Rising Stars, and then anybody else that wants to do some extra work. So I've done some healing work with her as well. I don't believe she's injured. I do think she's got with her back leg, which has been triggered by her being missing and being more mobile, and also not having the relief of soft bedding and warmth, etc., at home.
Mm.
But I don't think she's injured. But I've been sending her healing as well, because healing's really good for helping them feel safe and grounded and keeping their spirits up, and helping them stay motivated. Okay, I think you all did amazing. Thank you so much for showing up and giving it a go. And I'm just really happy that you and I asked the client's permission to, because I was struggling to get a time to speak to the client. So I'd said to her, look, you can get some fresh eyes on it. She was like, oh, that would be great. So I'll feed back to her.
Yeah.
Your
Can
guys
I?
feeding. Yes, Adele.
Just to say, when I went through the things with her, I said about the elk, following the elk and following the river. She's going to follow whatever comes up first, whether she sees the elk or the river. I sense she's very happy with that, doing one of those, and the fact like she's not going to look at the light at night because she's scared. She's scared
Right.
at night. She's not going to do any traveling at night. And I did mention to her when she picks up the smell, she'd notice when she's home, pick up the smell, and her mum and dad are waiting for her and that. But can I just say as well, regarding being amongst the elk, I did have a friend who lost her husky for weeks and weeks and weeks, and they definitely thought she must have been dead. She was living with the sheep. She was actually living within as a sheep. She then thought she was a sheep. So she was then spotted. So, that is a possibility, could do that. So, yeah.
Because the thing is, dogs are pack animals.
Yes. Yeah.
So the husky just found her new pack. It just
Yeah.
happened to be a flock of sheep.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I think it was months and months she was gone. She was, yeah, with the sheep.
Wow, that's incredible. I love
Yeah.
that. love that story. That's so cool.
Mhm.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much. And I will love you and leave you, let you get back to your day, your evening, whatever part of the world you are in. And I'll feed back your findings. And if you want to do some extra practice, Christina is going to pop the picture in Rising Stars, and I'll keep you up to date with how things are going as well. Okay, take care, everyone. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Bye.